not a hot deal for this marriage. To protect the innocent, I am not using real names for the people involved. People involved: myself, my wife, we will call her Lily, wife's best friend, we will call her Violet. Lily, Violet and I have known each other for many years. We all met through some mutual friends. We became close friends. Lily and Violet have a lot in common and openly tell each other they love each other. It's the love of a friend and not a romantic partner. Violet and I also share a bond in friendship. I was her male confidant. Many times, Lily, Violet and I would hang out. The ladies would go through several bottles of wine. Inevitably Lily would pass out and Violet and I would talk late into the night. We never had physical contact outside of a hug as we parted ways. Never a hug without Lily present. Violet doesn't do anything for me in the way of physical attraction, then or now, and vice versa. Lily was always conscious and present if a hug took place. Let me make this extra clear. Nothing has or will ever happen emotionally or physically between Violet and I ever. I don't cheat. Life happened and we find ourselves living very far apart now. Well over 1,000 miles apart. The girls still keep in daily contact. Violet got married shortly before Lily and I moved. She married a man and as it turns out, they both became extremely wealthy almost overnight. She is still the same person even with the ability to never work another day in her life. Their children's great-grandkids won't have to work as long as the kids don't blow at all. Like Lily and me, Violet and hubby have 2 small kids. About twice a year we go as a family to visit Violet and her family at their ranch. Lily takes our kids a couple times a year without me. She has a lot more PTO than I do. It's always fun times except Violet's husband is a very peculiar fellow. He usually spends his time working around the ranch. They have ranch hands that do 99% of the work. He piddles around. He is antisocial so I understand he needs his time alone. Violet confided to my wife that her husband has become increasingly paranoid over the years. Erratic behavior that has led to one instance of physical abuse. He slapped Violet. More than one instance of verbal abuse that escalated to a point of him jumping up around on the furniture while brandishing a blade and threatening harm to himself. Lily told me about these incidents. To say that it angers me is an understatement. You don't strike a woman. Even if she is attacking you, as a man, you can only deflect the strikes and try to subdue her so she isn't harming anyone. You don't strike a woman. So that's the backstory of the relationships. In the winter we went to visit. During a chit-chat session, and the girls having a bit more wine they each normally drinks, Violet admitted that her marriage has been non-physical for over 2 years. She won't leave. The finances of their marriage are so complicated, plus his family having even deeper pockets, would result in her losing everything. The money doesn't matter. She worries she would lose the kids or that she would get full custody with nowhere to go and no place to house them. Some of her basis for losing the kids is that she has a glass of wine before dinner, while cooking, and a glass with the meal. He doesn't drink but on rare occasions. While it's ridiculous to think 2 glasses of wine a day is alcoholism, we all know lawyers would spin that into she needs rehab. Here is where my problems start. I apologize, again, for the long backstory. I hope it helps someone shine a light on my problems so I can solve them. About 6 weeks after our last visit, I had a dream about Violet. The dream was slightly dirty. That part was skipped in the dream. While I don't remember all the details, I do remember some things clearly. Too clearly, more like a vision than a dream. In the first dream, Violet and I were in a vehicle. We had apparently gone into town to pick up supplies. At least that's what I sort of remember as the reason we were in a vehicle together. Somehow, she ended up kissing me. I don't remember specifically how that happened, but I do remember she initiated. We had slept together, but I don't remember the details of that part. I remember afterwards very clearly. Violet looked at me and said, "I'm glad this happened. I know it's unfair to you and to Lily, but I needed this and I needed it to be you." At that point I woke straight up. Wide awake, stunned, confused, freaked out. A total mind ducks. I couldn't get back to sleep for hours. I felt an immense, overwhelming feeling of guilt. I couldn't wrap my head around what I had just dreamed, seen in my head. I told my wife the next day. Telling her scared me as I worried it would cause her pain and might even screw up her friendship with Violet. Not telling her seemed like I was cheating. Look, it's a dream and that we have no control over dreams. Logically I get that, but emotionally I was a total wreck. Since then, I have had 3 other dreams about Violet. 2 were similar in nature as the first. The last, which was last night, was different. Last night was more complex. Violet and husband were arguing. About what I don't remember. This escalated to threats from him that he was throwing her and the kids out. He grabbed a bag and left the room, slamming a huge double door to the bedroom in the process. None of us have a bedroom door like this, and the bedroom didn't look anything like what any of us have ever owned. She held out a hand to me as she was crying. She pulled me behind her to hug her. She was on her knees crying, face in the duvet on the bed. I comforted her with a hug. At some point she started to push her butt back against me. I was aroused by this and eventually pushed back. At this point I remember noticing she had on panties and the pushing was forcing slight, assumed, penetration. We both stopped. She asked me to lay with her on the bed. She snuggled up and cried and told me about what has been happening in her marriage. I can't remember any of what she said, only that my heart was heavy and I felt despair. For clarification, during all the dreams I never felt love, romantic, physically pleasing feelings. It has always been sadness, emotional pain, despair, negative feelings. Anyway, we fell asleep. Right after we dozed off, her husband came back. For some reason the bedroom door was locked. We hadn't locked it. He hadn't locked it, but it was locked. He used an axe to break the door open. Somehow this didn't wake either one of us. She woke when he opened the door though. I remember him saying he couldn't believe what he was seeing. We were both fully dressed, and while she was beside me, she had sat up as he opened the door. He went into a rage at that point. This is where my eyes snapped open and I was back in the real world. Messed up mind once again. I've told my wife everything. All the details, at her request. I've left nothing out. It is during the recount of the dreams that I realized that there were no positive or pleasurable emotions in these dreams. No orgasms, no love, no desire even. I sit here writing this with a logical understanding I haven't done anything wrong. We can't control our dreams. Emotionally, I feel devastated. I have an overwhelming guilt that I have cheated on my wife. Have I? I certainly don't recall ever touching another woman, especially Violet. Lily and I have a wonderful marriage. We want for very little in life, have a healthy physical life, even though we do have more time between sessions than either would like due to raising two small kids and both having demanding careers. We make up for the time between by spending lots of time focusing on each other's pleasures when we do sleep together. Emotionally, we are as close as we have always been. Neither of us would step outside our marriage. We both know and trust that would never happen, never will happen. These dreams are driving me insane. I don't know how to make them stop. I have chosen not to go with the family on our summer visit in a couple weeks because of the dreams. I'm too uncomfortable to be around Violet. Violet knows nothing about the dreams. I don't have any contact with her unless we are at the ranch, and that is always in the presence of Lily or her husband or family members. We have never been alone in a room together. If it looks like that situation could arise, I excuse myself for the bathroom, even if I don't need to go. I do this so that her husband doesn't accuse her of infidelity. Lily has no worries about Violet and I being in a kitchen or living room alone. Lily is now worried about the recurrence of dreams about Violet. She is admitting she is emotionally hurt by the dreams. Logically, she knows I can't control them. Her concern is that when I have had vivid dreams in the past, they have come true. She says I have visions. I don't claim to be psychic. I'm not even sure I believe that is humanly possible. I do know that before Lily and I married, I had vivid dreams about us. I would tell her, and she was shocked that I was telling her about feelings she hadn't shared with me. She is concerned that something is going to happen that puts Violet and I in a relationship. The only way that could happen is with Lily dying, or possibly leaving me. Both are unlikely scenarios. Her health is great and she doesn't want to divorce me. That is what she tells me anyway. So, I am open to advice on what these dreams may mean and how to make them go away. Lily and I haven't spoken about Violet in weeks, so the power of suggestion doesn't seem to be in play. I really want these dreams to stop. If you have any advice, I am open to trying almost anything at this point. One final tidbit of info. Lily told Violet that I wouldn't be visiting this trip because I don't have enough PTO. This is true, but my company would let me work remotely so that I could join my family. Violet inquired if I would consider coming up at least for a day. Since it's a flight up and back, this seemed like a waste of money. Violet offered to pay airfare if I want to come up for a day. This is odd. I don't visit every time my wife and kids go, as stated at the start. Violet has never made this offer before. She has surprised us with plane tickets for a visit, but this, per Lily, seemed different. I cautioned Lily that she and I have a different outlook on the matter because of my dreams, so we shouldn't read into it. Should I ask Lily to talk to Violet about the dreams? As I told Lily, the best I can come up with is that I feel like Violet is in danger of some kind. Not telling her and having something bad happen to her or her family would be devastating. We would feel partially responsible. Telling her could be devastating as well. Would it set up a self-fulfilling prophecy? Does it plant a seed in Violet that doesn't need to be planted? She is an engineer by trade and training, so she is very logic-based. This is partially why we all get along so well. Lily is an engineer and I am a software developer. My mind is so twisted up that I know I am rambling. I can't focus on work at the moment and desperately need to. I feel a need to protect my friend. Violet and I first connected as friends the night of Lily and I getting married. We had a destination wedding and somehow the after party ended up in our hotel room. Lily passed out on the bed and the party kept going. Around 3 a.m. most people left. Violet and I started talking and she was white girl wasted, which led to her breaking down emotionally. Typically crying drunk girl, or so I thought. We knew she had been seeing a guy. Turns out she found out at the reception, via text from his wife, that he was married. She had no idea. Devastated is an understatement. So, I told her off the mental ledge and escorted her back to her room. I helped her get partially undressed, which this wasn't the first time I had helped her to do this, to get her to bed. The closeness of that night formed a bond between us as friends. I guess it's still there even though I don't communicate with her outside of visiting her ranch. I wish I understood why I feel so damn guilty. My logic-based thought process cannot resolve the emotions. As I stated in a response above, Violet and I became close under strange circumstances. To be clear, my wife instructed me early in the evening of our wedding night to make certain Violet made it to bed safely. That is why I escorted her to her room. That is why I helped her out of her dress. Her underwear was still on and I didn't touch her skin. I also told my wife the full details the next morning. She kissed me and thanked me for watching over her friend. She knows I will never cheat on her. Hell, I can't even keep a dream to myself. How do you think I would do with an affair? Impossible. A group of friends we hung out with was split boys, girls. I didn't care for the other guys as they had what I felt to be a barefoot and pregnant mentality towards the girls. So, I ended up hanging with the girls most of the time. At one time or another I have held hair while those girls puked, undressed them when they puked on themselves, and have seen them all run around bare on the way to, from the jacuzzi. My wife instructed me to watch over and take care of these girls. Never once did anything improper occur over the many instances of the girls hanging out. You may disagree that me seeing other women undressed was improper. Maybe it is, but it wasn't without my wife's knowledge, permission of all adults involved, and in many cases instructions to help out someone who drank too much. I treated it as one would a visit to a doctor. It's a naked body. I have seen many. I'm not a hormone-fueled teenager, so it wasn't arousing. I never had dreams about any of those girls. Violet was there for those events. I never thought twice about anyone except my wife. I'm not focused or rehashing the imagery in my head. I'm letting go. It just makes it difficult to go to sleep worrying I will have another dream. I have many vivid dreams. Lucid dreams, I think, is the medical definition. That makes sleep elusive enough. Adding these dreams to my world makes it so much worse. I tried not to see the one-day trip offer as anything other than a friend missing a friend. This is likely a fool's assessment of the situation. I do know without any doubt I will never cheat on my wife. My dad cheated on my mom. A lot. I saw the devastation his actions had on her and on my brother and me. I am not proud of it, but he and I ended up in many fist fights over it. I hate to think about all of that as it was 2 years ago today. He went into a coma he never came out of. This is also the same day my daughter was born, also 2 years ago. That subconscious stress could explain last night's dream but not the others. Let me tell you, it was a difficult day 2 years ago. I wanted to feel the overwhelming joy of my daughter coming into the world. She was 3 weeks premature, so we were already worried about her. She had some trouble breathing right after birth, so we feared lung development issues. Thank God it was just amniotic mucus that the nurses hadn't removed completely. She did have some issues with eating and digestion, which we found out a day or so later. The mix of joy and sadness was horrific. Beaming with pride while holding my daughter, with my son snuggled up with us, while also crying because my dad was a plane ride away and I knew he would be dead before I could see him again. Life can be cruel sometimes. I have always been more comfortable hanging out with women. The conversations are always more interesting and well thought out in response to questions. That stems from my curiosity of the female mind and body in my teen, formative years. My intentions are no different for Violet than they are for any of our current friends. To be a good friend. That's it. That's all it will ever be. If the day were to come that I didn't want to be with my wife, I would divorce her before I ever touched another woman. My wife is not my first wife. When my ex and I divorced, I remained faithful until the court approved the signed paperwork. I didn't do that for anyone but myself. I was still legally married even though the marriage was over emotionally. I wanted to have a clear conscience that I had remained faithful until the marriage was fully dissolved. I appreciate your take on the situation. I do disagree. I know myself, and the suggestion that there is a deep-seated psychological issue that is driving this just isn't accurate. Not just the dreams, but the kindness and protective nature of my personality. Being kind and nurturing and protective aren't bad things, even if they are pointed towards the opposite gender. I don't believe that every person is capable of cheating or willing to cheat if the situation becomes available. I have had the opportunity to cheat and I didn't. I wouldn't, and I let my ex-wife know her friend had hit on me while she was out of town. It would have been easy to say yes. The thing is, I wouldn't be able to say on my deathbed that I never cheated on anyone. I've made it this far, at least halfway there I figure, so why ruin a good thing? I don't have any fear of my marriage being at risk. My sanity is a different subject. My marriage has survived worse. My wife did accuse me of an affair at one point. It was a complete misunderstanding of a social media comment. Not by her but her well-meaning friends. Gossip turned drama, and I found her very angry with me. The comment referenced the Skinny Girl brand of alcoholic beverages. I told a female work associate to enjoy her Skinny Girl margarita. The lack of capitalization was the trigger. The rumor mill cranked up, and the next thing I know I am being accused of an affair. I was pissed over the accusation, but I knew that I had to squash it correctly. I took a voluntary lie detector test and presented the results to my wife. I broke all contact with the work associate. I did this quitting my job. I left zero doubt in my wife that I had been unfaithful. To this day, I randomly ask her if there is doubt and what I can do to reassure her it never happened. She says she has no doubt, so I believe her. I've never been accused of being a nice guy. Quite the opposite. am more apt to be engaged to deal with the abusive spouse or to have difficult conversations with the soul of the female who has engaged my advice and assistance. I don't claim to be some kind of Billy Badass. That's not the case, at least in my mind. My wife refers to me as a lovable bee. I have little to no filtering mechanisms. I will tell you bluntly what I think. Whether you like that or not is up to you. I apply my, likely considered poor, attitude about life to the knowledge gained over years of conversations with women, about women with women, and the research I did early on life. It's not conscious application, but I can recognize it if I pay attention. Why women feel comfortable with me I don't fully understand still. Either way, I am, like you, the shoulder to cry on. You can have a hug, a shoulder, even a friendly kiss on the cheek, but it goes no farther, and my wife needs to be present or provided me the directive to console you. My comment: I think you need to go see a counselor to help you through this. Your fear for your female friend triggers your male instinct to protect her. There is nothing wrong with that in and of itself. But then when you sleep, your triune, reptile, brain interferes with your dreams and perverts that instinct to protect her into the physically need to dominate and procreate with her. This is nothing you can control. You are physically attracted to Violet. Again, that is normal and nothing to be ashamed of as long as you control that urge and stay true to your wife. There are a lot of women I know and work with to whom I am physically attracted, but my personal boundaries keep me from acting on it. Get into some psychological counseling. There may be ways to get these dreams under control. OP responds: that's the thing though, I am not physically attracted to her. At least not in my conscious mind. I never have been. She's just not my type. I have always been attracted to brunettes and redheads. She is dirty blonde. I like tall, slender women as I am 6'1", and shorter women make many aspects of a physical relationship awkward. Violet is 5 feet even, and while petite she isn't a body type I find appealing. I do classify her as a friend, but we don't communicate outside of the couple times a year I am at their ranch. Aside from these dreams, she doesn't cross my conscious mind. She and my wife text in or talk daily. My wife doesn't share with me their conversations. I don't inquire about her. Without sounding rude or uncaring, she just doesn't cross my mind. Honestly, I have no reason to lie to myself or to you about that. This is why I am so damned confused about where these dreams come from. If I was hearing from my wife even once a week about Violet, then I could infer an association with the power of suggestion. I may hear something once every few months. Writing here today is the most I've thought about Violet since I've known her. Even in my pondering of why I have the dreams, I am not thinking about the content of the dreams. Since we live around 1,800 miles apart and have for about 7 years now, the late-night conversations no longer exist. I suppose it is possible that I miss her. That wouldn't be the norm for me. I have lived many places and, as heartless as it sounds, leave behind the people I once knew. It's not that I don't care for them. I simply accept that life has me on a different fork in the road from them. Trying to hold on to relationships with close friends has never been my way. I just don't feel the need. If I am moving to a new life, a new place, why attempt to drag along my past? People move in and out of our lives. That's part of life. This diary has given me some things to ponder when I have the time to stop and think. Life, work, children are the things that occupy my mind while awake. I spent a few hours here seeking input. I think it is lost on many that my focus is on why the dreams are triggered and not the people in the dreams. All of my discussions here haven't led to a recurrence of dreams about Violet. It's not conscious thoughts of her or power of suggestion via hearing about her from my wife. Whatever it is that triggers the dreams is still a mystery. Currently my pain levels are very high, so I don't sleep much. That gives me a slight reprieve from the normal horrors of my dreams. My wife and I spoke about this briefly. We aren't going to discuss with Violet, but my wife is going to see if she can find out if something bad is going on with her marriage that we don't already know about. As for me going to visit, not this trip. I have too much on my plate with work that has to be done before we take a family vacation at the end of July. I do agree that there is a risk of opening feelings back my direction. That was the concern I raised with my wife. Her concern was that something bad is going to happen. She feels this way based on dreams I have had in the past that reveal this truth weeks or months in the future. I had a dream several times about her ex-husband. I didn't really know her that well except as another member of a forum. The dream was of him collapsing in a specific airport. Heart attack or stroke, some major medical emergency. I only knew it was him because of a picture she used as her avatar. I chose to tell her about the dream after she disclosed they were going on an unplanned trip due to a death in her family. She disclosed her flight plans didn't carry them through that airport. Short story, their return flight was rerouted and he indeed had a stroke in the airport in my dreams. This is one of dozens of dreams over the course of my life, and many since we have been married, that turned out to be true. How or why this happens I don't begin to understand. I know there is no way I could have caused these things to happen. I think it more likely that we are all connected as humans in ways science still hasn't uncovered. It could also be a huge number of coincidences and too much LSD in my youth. I don't see how the latter would really explain the specifics of the dreams arriving in reality. But I suppose anything is possible, even if it's not probable. Anyway, whether or not my dreams mean anything will be determined later. I hope that they don't. I can't imagine a scenario where they would become reality that wouldn't be the result of the loss of my wife and children. That makes me physically nauseous to even write, much less try to consider pondering. I hope Violet is okay. My wife is much closer to her these days. If something bad is going on, she will find out. Until then, I am going to hope that no more dreams occur involving her and I can get back to my standard horror and terror-filled dreams. At least those don't bother me. My comment: you have an unconscious white knight personality. Just spend time with your loved ones, you'll be fine. Story 2. The New Sink. My husband and I have been married 10 years and have no children, but I am pregnant. Our marriage began very rocky, but after a few years we figured things out and settled into a comfortable, loving marriage. One problem that has always plagued us is that I had several physical partners before we were married and he had only one. For some reason he remains obsessed with that topic, and it resulted in a strange jealousy and him losing attraction in me. Because I knew I wasn't attractive to him, I also rarely felt like being intimate, and over time this caused great frustration on his part. The other day I caught him sending inappropriate messages to a girl on the internet and was so hurt that I told him he needed to decide right away if he still wanted to be with me. He thought for a day and came back with two choices: let him cheat once to avenge this frustration and jealousy he feels, or we just can't be together anymore. He swears he has not cheated already, and let's assume that is true. He says he loves me like he loves himself and never, ever wants to part from me, and let's assume that is true too. I thought my decision would be easy, and I said, of course no, you can't have an affair. There's no way to know if it would help. It wouldn't, or would be enough. It wouldn't, and I can't bear the thought of sharing you with someone else. Then we started talking of separating, and I was surprisingly hysterical. I felt as if my heart was being torn to pieces. I don't think I could physically survive being without him. Not due to weakness, but due to a what you would read in Shakespeare kind of love for him. I've been through breakups before. I'm a strong person. The pain I felt was absolutely unreal. We've been through it all, and I am not young. I couldn't meet someone else and live happily ever after with kids, etc. More importantly, I don't want to. Clearly the first response is, how selfish. He lives in another world. Dump him. But I'm looking for alternative suggestions. So far, he does not seem open to compromise such as counseling. Let's work on our physical life, etc. And when I mention he is talking about leaving me just over sleeping with someone else, he manipulates the situation and says it is my choice if he leaves or not. I know it is all very wrong, but trust me when I say I cannot lose him. Any insights or advice other than the obvious or similar experiences would be much appreciated. I disclosed to him how many people I was with before we were married. He said it was an issue, but that he had thought about it and decided it was not a deal breaker. By rarely, I mean a couple of times a month, and I never turned him down, not once. I just didn't instigate it due to my low self-esteem from knowing he didn't find me attractive. He didn't instigate often either, probably for the same reasons. I'm glad you mentioned talking to his parents. During our initial conversation, I told him I would call his mother and let her tell him how ridiculous he sounded. He said it was of no use and that he had already talked to her, and she said while she understands that the situation is difficult for him, that he should find a way to work things out and not hurt me. I am still thinking of calling her, but I don't know what good it will do. I'm not sure anyone at this point can talk sense into him. I did ask if we could please go to counseling and said I would make a real and genuine effort to instigate more, and he said it was too late for that. The hardest part of all of this is the thought of throwing away the last 10 years as if it never happened, in addition to losing my very best friend. I know people go through this every day. I guess I am still naive enough to think that life doesn't have to be as cruel and unfair as it is sometimes if we work at it. But I know it has to come from both sides. It truly does feel like he is dying and leaving me behind. As the days passed after my husband presented me with the ultimatum, I found myself increasingly consumed by the thought of him with another woman. I couldn't shake the image of him holding her, kissing her, and doing everything we had shared during our intimate moments. I was torn between my love for him and the immense pain and betrayal I would feel if he chose to cheat. The more I thought about it, the more I realized that the issue was not just about a good time, but about trust, respect, and the sanctity of our marriage. I decided to confront him about the ultimatum again, this time seeking to understand the root of his jealousy and frustration. We sat down together and had a long, painful conversation about our feelings, our past, and our future. I admitted to him that I felt insecure about my past, but I also reminded him that I had chosen him over all my previous partners and that my love for him was unwavering. He listened intently but remained adamant about his conditions. He argued that he felt inferior and insecure because of my past, and that he needed to experience intimacy with someone else to balance the scales. I couldn't believe that the man I loved would be so selfish, but his insistence left me feeling desperate and cornered. Despite my husband's resistance, I sought out professional help in the form of a couples counselor. Although he was initially reluctant to attend the sessions, I managed to convince him to at least give it a try for the sake of our marriage and our unborn child. Through counseling, we began to uncover the deeper issues that plagued our relationship. It wasn't just about our physical history, there were insecurities and communication problems that had festered beneath the surface for years. As we attended more sessions, I noticed a change in my husband. He began to open up about his feelings, and we both made an effort to communicate better and be more understanding of each other's needs. It seemed as though we were making progress, and I hoped that we could work through this crisis together. Unfortunately, our progress in counseling was short-lived. One evening, after returning home from a session, I found an email notification on our shared computer. Curiosity got the better of me, and I opened it to find a message from a woman I didn't recognize. It was clear from their exchange that they had been communicating for some time and were planning to meet. My heart shattered into a million pieces as I read their messages. I realized that my husband had not only been dishonest about the ultimatum, but he had also been actively pursuing an affair behind my back. The pain of his betrayal was unbearable, and it became clear that our marriage was in even more trouble than I had originally thought. After discovering my husband's infidelity, I knew that I could no longer continue with the marriage. The trust between us had been irreparably broken, and I couldn't see a way to move forward together. I confronted him about the emails, and after a heated argument, we agreed that it was best to end our marriage. The divorce process was long and draining, but I had the support of my friends and family to help me through it. As I prepared to become a single mother, I focused on creating a stable and loving environment for my unborn child. I knew that I had to be strong for both of us, and I refused to let my husband's actions dictate my future. In the months following the divorce, I slowly began to rebuild my life. I gave birth to a beautiful baby girl and found solace in my new role as a mother. My daughter brought joy and purpose to my life in a way that I never could have imagined. She became the center of my world, and I was determined to give her the best life possible. As I adjusted to life as a single mother, I also focused on healing from the pain of my marriage collapse. I continued to attend therapy sessions, both individually and in support groups, where I met others who had experienced similar heartbreak. These connections helped me realize that I wasn't alone, and I gradually found the strength to move on from my past. Although I wasn't actively searching for a new partner, fate had other plans. About 2 years after my divorce, I met a kind and gentle man named Jack through a mutual friend. We became friends first, bonding over our shared love for art and music, as well as our experiences as single parents. Over time, our friendship blossomed into something more, and we began dating. Jack was understanding of my past and never judged me for it. Instead, he showed me a level of respect and love that I had never experienced before. He became a loving father figure to my daughter, and we eventually formed a beautiful, blended family with his son from a previous relationship. As I stood in front of the mirror on the day of my wedding to Jack, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought me to this moment. The pain of my previous marriage and the heartache of my divorce had seemed insurmountable at the time, but I had come out on the other side stronger and wiser. As I walked down the aisle towards Jack, hand in hand with my daughter, I knew that we were starting a new chapter in our lives. I was grateful for the love and support that I had found in him and in our family, and I was excited for the adventures that lay ahead. In the end, the pain of my past had led me to a newfound appreciation for love, trust, and the importance of open communication. Though my journey had been difficult, I wouldn't trade it for anything, because it had brought me to a place where I could truly be happy and whole again. And so, with my daughter's laughter filling the air and Jack's loving gaze meeting mine, we began our new life together, hand in hand, ready to face whatever the future held for us. My comment: it's a new adventure, just embrace the journey.